Welcome to A Perfect Touch. I'm Jeanette. There are 3 historical and vintage costumed dolls in the Holiday Homecoming Collector series of Hallmark Special Edition Barbie dolls, created exclusively for Hallmark Gold Crown stores. The first of the series was produced in 1996. I created and wore the velvet jacket, satin skirt with embroidered net overlay, and velvet hat with vintage plumes. I'll share links to the blogs and videos with the details. The third and final in the series was produced in 1998. I created and wore this gown in 1930s style as I was madly sewing a 1930s wardrobe that year. I'll share blog and video links. The second in the series is Holiday Voyage Barbie, produced in 1997. I had found this doll on Etsy several years ago and planned to recreate the costume this year. Little did I know the magic that was in store for me, but more on that later. As with most Barbie dolls, Holiday Voyage Barbie has a wonderful story stirring both imagination and emotions for all ages. It was the 1920s, and all of the passengers on the luxury liner were charmed by the fashionable green-eyed beauty who dined every evening at the captain's table. Holiday Voyage Barbie doll had turned heads all through her extensive tour of Europe. Now she was doing the same on her voyage home for the holidays. She was lovely, standing there on deck, surrounded by fashionable admirers. She wrapped herself in her red and black dome and coat so that the faux fur trim protected her dropped waist dress from the cool, salty air. Barbie wouldn't have dreamed of wearing this sensational ensemble without her long strand of pearls. Covering her stylishly bobbed hair was a black cloche hat with a matching flower and green ribbon to accent its wide brim. As Barbie gazed dreamily over the azure sea, she remembered the illustrated Christmas cards she had received in the last port. As much as she had enjoyed her grand tour and her delightful shipboard acquaintances, the only place she truly wanted to be at Christmas time was home. As if in answer to her wish, the welcome sight of land appeared on the distant horizon. Barbie knew she would be home very soon to celebrate the season with the people who meant the most to her. The costume details for Holiday Voyage Barbie are so true to the era. The Barbie dolls I find are usually removed from their original packaging, and the boxes are damaged, so their value is minimal. Holiday Voyage Barbie was still firmly attached to her inner sleeve, where she had been for the past 25 years or more. It's time to take a close look at what it will take to recreate her costume in life size for me to wear. This blog post and video will not share the making of the 1920s drop waist dress. I recreated the dress earlier for a Gatsby fundraiser, and we'll share that in a separate post and video. This post and video will share the making of the faux fur-trimmed coat and the recycled cloche. Let's start with the cloche. Originally made for my historically accurate Maleficent project, the cloche is made from an out-of-a-portrait pattern. I'll share links. By removing the coque feather front trim and creating the black rose from wired ribbon and adding green satin ribbon, this cloche is recycled for Holiday Voyage Barbie and still usable for the original costume. The perfect pattern for this coat is one I've already made several times, the Folkwear 503 Poirot Cocoon Coat. And the perfect lining would be a wonderfully slippery faux satin in perfect Barbie pink. But staying in that perfect mode for the fabric for the coat exterior was a challenge, and took most of a year to finally find something that fit both the inspiration and my budget. For the Victorian Barbie in this series, I had used a heavy satin with an embroidered net overlay to achieve the right effect. And one day, I found on Etsy a velvet on net overlay, which seemed not only the perfect design but at a great price. It was almost shocking how closely the design matched the Holiday Barbie coat design. It took a while longer to find a red satin that had the heaviness to hold the weight of the overlay and faux fur, and the shine and bright color to show through the black net of the overlay. But patience won out, and I found a 5-yard remnant that would give the right impression. Do you like my fabric weights? With the fabric sourced, it was time to look for the faux fur trim. I wanted something that was very snow white against the red coat, but would not be mistaken for fur, as it can be sensitive for many people. I found the right trim and could cut it to the width I desired. After almost a year, it's finally time to sew. The Folkwear Poirot cocoon coat pattern consists of only 2 main pieces, but they are very large. Here is the lining in 2 pieces, and the red satin and velvet net overlay. The brilliant design of this coat is that the back forms over the shoulder to become the upper part of the front, and that seam continues to create the sleeve. This is repeated for both halves, which are then sewn together at the center back. The steps are repeated for the lining. With the outer and lining layers complete, it's time for the white faux fur trim. The trim on the Holiday Voyage Barbie coat is very opulent, and I wonder what it will take to give that same feel to my coat. I put it out to my social media friends. 4-inch width or 5-inch width? 4-inch width is a solid winner, and I prepare to cut my trim to width. An old sheet on the floor and a cleaned gardening table will, hopefully, ensure that I make a minimum amount of mess in the house. I measure my width with extra for seam allowances and mark and cut from the wrong side to minimize cutting the quote-unquote fur fibers, but the process is still messy, and thank goodness for the sheet. This width will be perfect, and the white looks so beautiful against the red and black. I place the trim right sides together on the outer fabric and sew the trim all the way around the coat. Then I turn the trim to enclose the sewn seam and align the raw edges. I follow the same procedure to hand sew the trim to the sleeves. Taking care to smooth the trim away from the seam, I sandwich the trim between the outer layer and the lining and sew completely around the coat, leaving an opening at the lower edge to turn the coat right side out. The opening left to turn the coat right side out and the lining sewn to the sleeves will now be hand stitched, and the Holiday Voyage Barbie coat will be finished. But that will have to wait, as I have a dream coming true. After 184 weeks and 5 days, I will finally be taking my dream voyage on the Queen Mary 2 ocean liner. This was a trip I had saved for and sold almost all my complete costume wardrobe for, and was to happen in May 2020. It was canceled when the World Health Crisis happened. That was to be a transatlantic voyage from New York to Europe, with time in London and Paris, and I had my ticket to Fête Gallant at Versailles in hand. But life has a way of changing, and I've learned that looking forward is the best. My new voyage would still be out of New York, but to 5 sun-drenched ports in the Eastern Caribbean: St. Kitts, St. Lucia, Dominica, Barbados, and Tortola. Holiday Voyage Barbie and some of my 1930s wardrobe would be worn on the Queen Mary 2. So almost finished Holiday Voyage Barbie gets packed, transported, and then hung in the Queen Mary 2 cabin closet. And the hand stitching is finally finished during a relaxing sea day, watching the azure sea from the bridge cam and from the balcony. The 1925 fringe dress is waiting for her companion, Holiday Voyage Barbie cocoon coat and cloche. And some perfect touches are ready, including the most amazing pearl drop and moonstone earrings from Lady Detal on Etsy. They so closely recreate the Holiday Voyage Barbie, and I love them. I'm now back home with a heart full of beautiful memories. I did wear some of the 1930s creations I've sewn over the past few years, and will share those makes in blog posts and videos over the coming months. I also wore some 1930s warm weather makes from the Art Deco weekend on the Queen Mary in California, which was the start of this dream. I'm thinking of making a blog post and video of the Queen Mary 2 and the ports I visited and costumes I wore. If that is of interest, let me know in the comments. But here are some close-ups of Holiday Voyage Barbie and the now fully finished cocoon coat. The miniature card enclosed with Holiday Voyage Barbie is an authentic replica of a Hallmark greeting card from the 1920s, discovered in the Hallmark Design Collection. From Patrick, Tasha Puppy and me to you and your loved ones. Happiest holidays, and may all your dreams come true in the coming year.